Princess Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion of the lands, legends, planes, and planeswalkers of Magic the Gathering, where I take these components of the very lore of the system, the world settings of Magic the Gathering, introduce you to their history and information about them, so you know a little bit more about the lore. So today, I wanted to continue with our discussion on the various lands, and of course, as I had started with before, with Ravnica, the lands are really reflected upon their guilds. So today, a new guild, the Azorius Senate, or as they're also known, the High Judges. They are a blue-white guild, or the blue-white guild, within that city plane of Ravnica. Their founder, or Perun, was the Supreme Judge Azor I, who's known for being the main author of the Guild Pack, which maintained peace for thousands upon thousands of years across the city of Ravnica. The Senate acts as the government of Ravnica and actually creates many of its laws. Their basic seat of power, their guild hog, was known as Prav, and during the events of the first Ravnica block, it was destroyed in an explosion, leading to the return of Ravnica block, where it had been rebuilt into the new Prav. They believe that the laws that they create are what keeps the order within the city and prevents it from descending into chaos. They regulate and mediate the other guilds, but unfortunately, oftentimes, many of their decrees are, in fact, ignored. This tends to be because they are also despised by many of the inhabitants of Ravnica, so of course they do tend to ignore them. They are bureaucratic, formal, and fastidious, and oftentimes perform hours of legal paperwork, just forms after forms after forms. They adhere to strict protocols, and they tend to be very rigid in this, preventing them from acting a lot of times because they have to follow along these protocols that people kind of scoff them for. This means there's a saying that the Azorius are known to go to action with inaction. Now, they do work closely with the Boros and the Selesnya when it comes to enforcing the laws, and with the Orzhov when it comes to mediating and regulating a lot of the business within the city itself. As advocates and mediators of the city, they advocate blind justice, the status quo, order within the city. They have many knights and paladins working for them, along with powerful mages that specialize in countering magic and other law-type magic that controls things. Now, they do have a very strict hierarchy, with subordinates looking to their superiors, and superiors often having two subordinates under them. Overall, the entire system is reflected upon these three columns, three sections of the Senate. Sova are judges and arbiters. Jelen are scribes and allocators. And Lave are law mages and enforcers. Now, during the Ravnica block, the Senate was looked over, had the Guildmaster of Grand Arbiter Augustus IV, which was killed during an explosion of Prav during the time, but he was also under the attack from a dark spirit that was attempting to murder him. So blown up and under the attack of the spirit. We don't see much else of the guild itself during the Ravnica block, but during Return to Ravnica, we see that Asperia, who had been a champion of Azorius during the original Ravnica block, here in Return to Ravnica, she has taken on the reluctant role of Guildmaster here. So the Sphinx Asperia is now in charge. She has three basically councils to advisors, each one from the different columns, each one with a new sort of advisory role. Jelen making laws, Lev enforcing them, and Sova judging lawbreakers. That with these new advisors, the columns have almost been refined. Now, the mechanics of Azorius are Foretold back from Ravnica. Foretold was an ability that if I had a card with Foretold in my hand, I may choose to reveal that card from my hand, pay a Foretold cost, and then I would get some form of effect. I'd basically have an activated ability I would activate from my hand. So this could not be countered. It's similar to what a buyback spell would have been back in the old days, but rather than, of course, actually casting of a spell, it's an activated ability that I could activate once a turn on my upkeep. And I mean my upkeep as the controlling player of having the Foretold card in my hand. So I get it once a turn, during my upkeep, that's it. That's the only time I could possibly use this Foretold card. But I could get it once a turn then, and it still is in my hand. Now, when it came to Return to Ravnica, they added the special ability Detain. That's what the Azorius had during that time period. Detain was a special ability that when a creature or permanent with Detain would enter the battlefield, you would choose another target permanent, and it could not attack, block, or use its activated abilities until the beginning of the turn of the player who controls the detaining creature. So I play my detaining creature. If I play it, that thing over there, it can't attack, block, or use its activated abilities until beginning of my next turn as the controller of this detaining creature. But that's it for today. I introduce you to the Azorius Senate, another of the guilds of Ravnica, and one that I do enjoy because I had to technically make an Azorius detained deck, but that's besides the point, and that might be why I actually made this video. But the truth is, they are lawmakers. They are order, but to almost extreme degree. Bureaucracy to the extreme, almost. They are an example of true democracy. They represent, in a way, democracy too, as you have their three branches represent something like the three branches in most democratic countries. A executive, a judiciary, and of course, a Senate, a Congress. That each of these three branches matches these quite well. So you can see there are modern aspects even in this interesting guild. This guild has abilities which I've enjoyed, actually. Foretold is a pretty decent ability, and even Detain had its uses within Azorius. Granted, none of them were perhaps the most powerful abilities, but they were good abilities that were quite useful. Azorius itself has a very dark history almost, as many of their important members have died in very terrible ways. Augustus IV blew up, and Asperia didn't really want this position. So you can see there's reluctancy to lead in amongst themselves above all. They always want to be in that hierarchy, ready to look to the next subordinate, putting themselves in a position of the order itself, rather than above the order. Because bureaucracy, making sure everything is in its proper place, its proper order, it's the status quo, is what's most important. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It shows support for the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can check out my Patreon. Link in the description below. There's some great rewards there. It helps to grow and improve the channel. If you want to see some other great Magic the Gathering content, I can recommend my friends in the multiverse, Card Bazaar, They Said, We Said, and Tasty Snackies. They do some great Magic the Gathering content. I can always recommend them. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.